So, let's talk about why the brain chooses addiction. And I'll tell you right now, the answer probably isn't what you think it is. This isn't a story about weakness, not at all. It's actually a story about a survival mechanism that most of us just deeply misunderstand.
This quote really just nails it, doesn't it? Addiction is the brain trying to survive a war you can't see. So, over the next few minutes, we're going to break down the 3 hidden reasons your mind chooses this path instead of reality. And you're definitely going to want to stick around for that 3rd reason. It's the one therapists sometimes call the trap nobody escapes.
All right, so here's the plan. We're going to look at the broken alarm, then this deep craving for certainty, and finally, we'll get to the final trap. Simple as that. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first, we have to tear down this huge myth that pretty much all of us believe. You know, the idea that addiction starts with a drug or a phone or just one bad decision? Well, it turns out that's just wrong.
The truth is, addiction starts years before that first drink or that first compulsive click. It starts with pain that just had nowhere to go. You see, your brain has one really primitive job: keep you alive. That's it. And when your world feels unsafe or unpredictable or just plain rejecting, your brain makes this kind of executive decision. It says, you know what? Reality is the threat here. We got to get out.
And let me be super clear. This is not a character flaw. This is straight up neuroscience. We call it the addict's brain. And it's a state where the brain is it's wired for escape. Now, here's the really scary part. You can develop this wiring without ever touching a drug. Workaholism, endless doom scrolling, even getting stuck in toxic relationships, it's all the same circuitry. So if you've ever found yourself judging someone for not having enough willpower, I promise this is going to completely change how you see things.
Okay, so that brings us to reason number 1, trauma and the broken alarm. The idea here is that trauma can basically turn your nervous system into a broken car alarm that's just stuck screaming, "Danger," when there's nothing actually wrong. Seriously, just picture a car alarm that got hit one too many times. The sensor's busted, it starts blaring because a leaf fell on the windshield or because of the wind or at 3 in the morning for absolutely no reason. Well, that's what your body is like after dealing with things like childhood trauma or bullying or even just chronic stress. Your nervous system gets stuck in what's called hyperarousal. Now, the fancy term for this is a dysregulated HPA axis, but all that really means is your body is just flooded with stress hormones, cortisol and adrenaline, 24/7. So what does that actually feel like? Well, it's not being able to sleep even when you are bone tired. It's your heart suddenly racing while you're sitting in a quiet room. It's that weird feeling of guilt you get when you just try to relax. You are just constantly physically on edge. It is an absolutely exhausting way to live.
So what does a smart, adaptive brain do when it's stuck like this? It starts searching. It looks for the fastest possible chemical off switch you can find. Alcohol, for instance, dumps a chemical called GABA into your brain and just forces it to be calm for a little while. Scrolling through your phone floods you with these tiny little hits of dopamine that distract you from that internal alarm. Porn, shopping, weed, sugar, they're all just different buttons that do the exact same job.
And this right here, this is the crucial point. You're not chasing a high, you're chasing silence. You're basically self-medicating a nervous system that never, ever got the chance to feel safe. And that's exactly why telling someone to just stop is so useless. It's like telling someone with a broken leg to just walk it off. You're asking them to throw away their only crutch before the bone has even started to heal.
All right, which leads us right into reason number 2, the psychology of escape. See, it turns out the brain isn't just addicted to the substance, it's addicted to certainty. It's addicted to a guaranteed outcome.
So here's the cruel trick that anxiety plays on us. The more uncertain and chaotic your life feels, the more your brain craves something, anything that's a guaranteed win. I mean, think about it. Real life can be pretty brutal, right? You can study for weeks and still fail the test. You can pour your heart into a relationship and still get left. Your brain looks at all that risk and just says, nope, too risky. But addiction is like a perfect contract. It's 100% predictable. One click will give you 20 minutes of relief.
One drink will give you 3 hours of numbness. It's a guaranteed reward. So when you have an exhausted brain that's running on fumes, trying to escape anxiety and shame, it's going to choose that predictable relief over the long, hard, uncertain road of actual healing. It'll do it every single time. And there's actually a term for this in psychology. It's called delay discounting. Basically, the idea of a future, healed version of you seems huge and amazing, but it's also really far away and not guaranteed. The relief right now is smaller, but it's certain. For a brain that's just trying to survive, that's a no-brainer.
And you know what the worst part is? Every single time you make that choice, you're teaching your brain, hey, this is how we survive. It's like you're carving a groove in your brain. That neural pathway gets wider and deeper. The escape route gets faster. And after you do it, say, 100 times, it stops being a choice at all. It just becomes a reflex.
And that is why we have the concept of rock bottom. Your brain literally won't even consider trying a new path until the old one, that escape path, starts causing even more pain than the original stuff it was trying to run away from in the first place.
And that brings us to reason number 3. Now, this is the trap I mentioned at the very beginning. It's the one that can feel absolutely impossible to escape. It's called the dopamine trap. And it's what happens when the escape just stops feeling good.
See, after months or maybe even years of running down that same path, something really terrifying starts to happen. You don't just stop feeling sad anymore, you stop feeling, well, anything at all. The clinical term for this is anhedonia. It literally means without pleasure. What's happening is your brain's dopamine receptors get so fried from all those huge artificial spikes that normal, real life just starts to look gray. It's joyless. It's like the color gets drained out of everything. Your brain scans the world and the report comes back, nothing out here is worth feeling.
I mean, look at how this plays out. A beautiful sunset scores a 0 on the feeling scale. A good joke? 0. A hug from your kid? 0. So the big question is, why would anyone keep doing something if it doesn't even feel good anymore? Well, here's the terrifying answer. Because the addiction becomes the only thing that makes them feel something. Even if that something is just shame, or chaos, or self-hatred. See, for a numb brain, chaos still registers. Emptiness doesn't.
And this leads us to a really chilling conclusion. The brain will literally choose familiar pain over unfamiliar peace. This is why, and it's so heartbreaking, you sometimes see people relapse right after something good happens in their life. They get a promotion, they start a new relationship, because joy starts to feel foreign, even unsafe. But pain, chaos, shame, for that brain, that feels like home. This right here is the final boss of addiction. It's not about the substance anymore. It's about a brain that has completely forgotten how to feel safe in reality.
So okay, how in the world do you break a 3-layer trap like this? The answer isn't shame, and it's definitely not more willpower. The way out is through rewiring the brain itself.
Yeah, willpower fails here because you can't fight neuroscience with sheer force. Instead, you have to give the brain a new, healthier way to do the 3 jobs it was trying to do in the first place. Feel safe, find some certainty, and deal with its pain.
And here's how you do it, in 3 basic steps. First, to fix that broken alarm, you need to create what's called somatic safety. That just means using your body, through things like breath work or exercise, to send a physical signal to your brain that says, hey, the danger is over, we're safe now. Second, to combat that need for unhealthy certainty, you start building predictable, healthy joy into your life. Schedule a small win every single day, something simple, like a walk at 6 p.m. It gives the brain the predictability it craves. And finally, you have to turn and face the pain. You have to heal that original wound, usually through something like therapy. Because once you do that, the addiction, well, it doesn't have a job anymore.
So this is the thought I really want to leave you with today. Your brain isn't broken. If anything, it's incredibly loyal. It learned this pattern of addiction because at some point in your life, that behavior probably saved you from something you felt was even worse. The job now isn't to punish it, it's to gently teach it a new, better way to keep you safe.
Because the brain you want, it's not something you find, it's something you build.